If you've been struggling with stubborn belly fat, the kind that clings no matter how many hours you fast or how cleanly you eat, it's time to understand that your body isn't broken. It's inflamed. And inflammation, my friends, is not just a small irritation. It's a silent fire smoldering deep within your cells, quietly disrupting your hormones, metabolism, and your ability to burn fat. See, we've been taught that weight loss is all about calories in and calories out. But if that were true, then why do so many people, despite strict fasting, find themselves stuck? Because when your body is inflamed, your fat cells stop listening to insulin, the very hormone designed to help regulate energy. High insulin traps fat inside your cells and shuts off the pathways that burn it. The result, you feel tired, hungry, and frustrated, while your belly fat seems to have a mind of its own. Now, the fascinating thing is this inflammation doesn't always come with pain or swelling. Most of the time, it's invisible. It starts silently, triggered by processed foods, poor sleep, chronic stress, or even eating too often. And this silent inflammation keeps your metabolism in lockdown mode. But there's a way out. When you begin to lower inflammation through the right daily habits, the foods you eat, when you eat them, how you rest and move, something remarkable happens. Your insulin levels stabilize. Your gut begins to heal. Your cells become more sensitive again, ready to release stored fat as energy. This is how your body transitions naturally from a state of fat storage to fat burning, not through struggle, but through healing. Inflammation is not always loud or visible. It doesn't always come with pain, fever, or swelling. Most of the time, it works quietly, hidden beneath the surface, like a slow, burning fire inside your body. You may look fine on the outside, but deep inside, your cells are under stress. This fire begins in your fat tissue, your gut, and your immune system, spreading chemical signals that disturb the very balance your body depends on to stay healthy. Let's look at what actually happens. When you consume foods high in refined sugars, industrial seed oils, and processed carbohydrates, your body reacts as if it's under attack. These foods flood your bloodstream with glucose and unstable fats, which damage your cells and trigger the release of inflammatory messengers called cytokines. At the same time, when you are chronically stressed or sleep deprived, your body releases cortisol, the stress hormone, which further activates those same inflammatory pathways. It's a perfect storm. Poor diet, lack of rest, and emotional strain together create a biochemistry that traps your body in a state of chronic inflammation. Inside your fat cells, this inflammation changes everything. Normally, fat tissue is meant to store energy and release it when needed. But when those cells are inflamed, they stop communicating properly with the hormones that regulate metabolism, particularly insulin. Think of insulin as the key that unlocks your fat cells, allowing energy to flow in and out. But when inflammation sets in, that key stops working. Your cells become insulin resistant, meaning that even though your body is producing insulin, the signal isn't getting through. The fat stays locked inside, and your body is unable to use it for energy. As this continues, your pancreas is forced to release more and more insulin to compensate, which only makes the situation worse. High insulin not only prevents fat breakdown, but also encourages the storage of even more fat, especially around your abdomen, the visceral fat that sits around your organs. And this visceral fat is not passive, it's biologically active, constantly releasing its own inflammatory chemicals, creating a vicious cycle. Inflammation causes more insulin resistance, which causes more fat storage, which causes more inflammation. Now imagine this internal fire burning 24 hours a day. You may not feel it, but it quietly sabotages every effort you make to lose weight. You might reduce calories, exercise harder, or extend your fasting window, yet your body resists change. It's not that your fasting isn't working, it's that your cells are locked in survival mode. Inflammation has hijacked your metabolism, turning your body into a system designed to hold onto fat rather than let it go. Here's the truth most people overlook. Your body does not burn fat efficiently in a hostile environment. Until you calm this internal fire, no diet, no fasting protocol, no supplement will truly unlock your fat burning potential. The body is intelligent. It will not prioritize weight loss when it's inflamed. Instead, it prioritizes protection and survival. When we focus solely on cutting food or burning calories, we're treating the smoke, not the fire. The real solution begins with restoring internal harmony, cooling the body from within. Every meal, every night of rest, every mindful breath either adds fuel to the fire or helps extinguish it. Anti-inflammatory foods, regular sleep, managing emotional stress, and periods of fasting done correctly are not just habits. They are messages to your cells that the danger has passed, that healing can begin. Once that message is received, your body begins to respond beautifully. Insulin sensitivity improves, your energy returns, and stored fat starts to release naturally. Fat loss stops being a struggle because your body is no longer fighting against you. It's working with you. When you lower inflammation, you are not just changing your weight, you're changing the entire metabolic conversation happening inside your body. Only when that silent fire is put out can your natural fat burning mechanisms come alive again, effortlessly, consistently, and sustainably. Insulin is one of the most powerful hormones in your body. It decides whether you store energy or release it. In a healthy system, insulin works like a wise gatekeeper, opening and closing the gate to your fat cells as needed. When you eat, insulin rises to help move glucose into your cells for energy. When you fast, insulin falls and that gate opens, allowing stored fat to flow out and be burned as fuel. It's a perfect rhythm, on-off balance renewal. But when inflammation enters the picture, that rhythm is broken. Inflammation makes insulin's job almost impossible. The cytokines, tiny inflammatory messengers released by your immune system, interfere with insulin's signal. Your fat, liver, and muscle cells begin to ignore insulin's instructions like workers who no longer trust their manager. To compensate, your pancreas produces even more insulin, trying to force the cells to respond. But the more insulin it produces, the less the cells listen. This is insulin resistance, a silent trap that locks you in a fat storing mode. Now imagine this happening day after day. You eat breakfast, insulin rises. You snack mid-morning, it rises again. Lunch, dinner, late night eating, insulin never gets a break. And when you add inflammation from processed foods, lack of sleep, or stress, that gatekeeper becomes permanently on duty. The gate to your fat cells stays shut. Fat can't escape, and the body has no choice but to store more. You may be eating less, yet your body feels like it's starving because the energy you need is locked away behind that closed gate. This is why many people feel exhausted while trying to lose weight. It's not about willpower, it's biology. When your insulin remains high due to inflammation, your metabolism is handcuffed. You can't burn fat efficiently because your body is trapped in a constant state of storing. Every spike in blood sugar, every inflammatory response reinforces the signal to keep fat locked inside. Over time, this metabolic trap leads to a dangerous pattern. The more fat you store, especially around the abdomen, the more inflammatory chemicals your fat tissue releases. And those chemicals, in turn, make insulin resistance even worse. It's a self-feeding loop. Inflammation drives high insulin drives more inflammation. Visceral fat, the deep fat surrounding your organs, is especially harmful. Unlike subcutaneous fat that sits under the skin, visceral fat behaves like an endocrine organ. It secretes hormones and cytokines that disrupt metabolism throughout the body. These molecules travel through your bloodstream, inflaming the liver, disturbing gut balance, and raising cortisol levels, all of which further increase insulin levels. This is why belly fat feels so resistant. It's not just a cosmetic issue, it's a living, active tissue perpetuating inflammation and insulin resistance at the same time. So how do you break this cycle? by giving insulin a rest, by allowing that gatekeeper to finally step away from duty. The daily habit that accomplishes this is remarkably simple. It's about restoring the natural rhythm between feeding and fasting. When you extend the periods between meals, your insulin begins to drop. Your cells finally get a chance to reset and regain sensitivity. That's why strategic fasting, done gently and consistently, is so powerful. It's not about starving, it's about creating metabolic space for healing. Pair this with low glycemic eating, foods that don't cause sharp rises in blood sugar, and you stabilize insulin throughout the day. Think whole, unprocessed foods, leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, healthy fats, and clean proteins. These foods nourish your body without overstimulating insulin, allowing that gate to open slowly, releasing stored fat back into circulation for energy. The moment you combine reduced inflammation with improved insulin sensitivity, everything changes. Your body begins to trust the process again. Instead of being forced to store energy, it starts to burn it. Your mind becomes clearer, your energy more stable, your cravings fade, and that stubborn belly fat, once resistant, begins to melt naturally. The truth is, fat loss doesn't begin with pushing harder. It begins with listening to the body's signals and restoring balance. When you calm inflammation and give insulin room to breathe, your metabolism reawakens, not through struggle, but through synchronization. That's when your body remembers how to burn fat effortlessly again. Your gut is the soil of your metabolic garden. Everything, your energy, mood, and ability to burn fat grows from this inner terrain. If the soil is rich, balanced, and nourished, your body thrives. But if it's inflamed, depleted, or overrun by harmful microbes, even the healthiest lifestyle changes can struggle to take root. This is why real fat loss doesn't begin in the gym or the kitchen. It begins in your gut. Inside your digestive tract lives a vast community of bacteria, trillions of them, known as the gut microbiome. These microscopic organisms are not just passive passengers, they are active participants in nearly every system of your body. They help digest food, regulate hormones, control inflammation, and even influence insulin sensitivity. When your gut is healthy, beneficial bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that reduce inflammation, support metabolic health, and signal fat cells to release stored energy. But when this ecosystem becomes imbalanced, what we call dysbiosis, harmful bacteria take over and inflammation begins to rise. Think of it like a garden overrun with weeds. The weeds, in this case, bad bacteria, release toxins that damage the protective lining of your gut. This lining is meant to be selectively permeable, allowing nutrients in while keeping harmful substances out. But when it becomes compromised, it turns into what scientists call a leaky gut. Tiny gaps form between the intestinal cells, and bacterial toxins known as lipopolysaccharides, LPS, leak into the bloodstream. Your immune system detects these invaders and launches a defensive response. Chronic, low-grade inflammation throughout the body. This inflammation doesn't stay confined to the gut. It spreads through the bloodstream, reaching your liver, your muscles, and even your fat tissue. The fat cells, sensing this internal stress, respond defensively by holding on to stored energy. They interpret the signal as a threat, a sign that the body is under attack, so they resist releasing fat. Insulin resistance deepens metabolism, and you enter a state of metabolic lockdown. It's not that your body refuses to burn fat, it's that it's trying to protect you from what it perceives as danger. Restoring gut health, then, is not just about digestion. It's about reprogramming your metabolism at the deepest level. Every meal you eat sends a message to your microbiome. Feed the healers, or feed the fire. Processed foods, artificial sweeteners, and excessive alcohol nourish the harmful bacteria and worsen inflammation. But foods rich in fiber, fermented nutrients, and natural prebiotics, like vegetables, legumes, and fermented products, strengthen your gut's protective barrier. Fiber acts like fertilizer for good bacteria, while fermented foods introduce beneficial strains that crowd out the harmful ones. Probiotics can play an important role too, but they work best when supported by a clean environment. You can't plant new seeds in polluted soil and expect growth. This is where fasting becomes a powerful ally. When you stop eating for a period of time, the gut gets a chance to rest, repair, and renew. Fasting reduces gut permeability, lowers inflammation, and encourages the growth of beneficial microbes. It's like giving the soil a break from constant tilling, allowing the ecosystem to rebalance itself naturally. The gut also communicates directly with the brain and fat cells through the vagus nerve, a bidirectional information highway. When your gut bacteria are healthy, they send calming signals that reduce stress hormones, improve insulin sensitivity, and enhance fat metabolism. But when your gut is inflamed, the opposite happens. Stress hormones rise, cravings increase, and fat storage becomes the default setting. This is why many people find that when they heal their gut, they not only lose fat, but also experience clearer thinking, improved sleep, and more emotional stability. To truly unlock fat burning, you must tend to the soil first. Feed your gut with whole, unprocessed foods, rich in fiber and phytonutrients. Include fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, or yogurt to repopulate beneficial microbes. Avoid constant snacking so your digestive system has time to reset between meals. And use fasting as a gentle reset, not as punishment, but as nourishment for your inner ecosystem. When the gut heals, inflammation calms down. The protective barrier becomes strong again, and the flood of toxins into the bloodstream stops. The immune system relaxes as insulin sensitivity improves, and your fat cells begin to open up once more. The body finally receives the message it's safe to let go. Just as a garden flourishes when the soil is restored, your metabolism blooms when your gut returns to balance, and fat loss becomes a natural outcome, not a forced effort. Fasting is one of the oldest healing tools known to humanity, not a modern trend, but a biological rhythm built into our very design. Every cell in your body carries the memory of feast and famine, activity and rest. When you fast, you are not depriving your body, you are allowing it to reset, to pause the constant incoming stream of energy and focus instead on repair. In that stillness, your body shifts from a state of inflammation and accumulation to one of cleansing and renewal. Think of fasting as the body's own housekeeping cycle. When you eat constantly, from the moment you wake up until you sleep, your cells are busy digesting, processing, storing, never getting the chance to clean. But when you stop feeding for a while, a quiet transformation begins. Your insulin levels drop, signaling that energy from outside has paused. In response, your body begins to look inward for fuel, opening up fat stores that have been locked away. At the same time, inflammation starts to decline as the body no longer has to manage constant spikes in glucose and insulin. Lower insulin is key. Remember, high insulin is pro-inflammatory. It keeps your cells in a state of alert, encouraging fat storage and oxidative stress. When insulin falls, inflammatory pathways calm down. The stress on your mitochondria, the tiny energy factories in each cell, decreases, allowing them to function more efficiently. This reduction in metabolic stress directly lowers the production of inflammatory molecules like cytokines. It's as though the fire that once raged within your tissues finally begins to fade. But the true magic of fasting lies in what happens next, a process called autophagy. This word literally means self-eating, but it's not destructive, it's rejuvenating. During autophagy, your body identifies damaged, misfolded, or dysfunctional cells and breaks them down into raw materials that can be recycled into new, healthy cells. It's the ultimate detox, not from a supplement or juice, but from your own biology. Damaged cells are one of the main sources of inflammation because they leak reactive oxygen molecules and inflammatory signals. By clearing them out, Fasting removes the very foundation upon which chronic inflammation builds. Imagine your body as a house that's been collecting clutter for years. Every cell holds on to old proteins, toxins, and metabolic waste that accumulate from daily life. Fasting is like opening the windows, sweeping the floors, and taking out the trash. When you engage this natural housekeeping cycle, your body becomes lighter, cleaner, and more efficient. Your immune system no longer has to fight constant internal pollution, so it quiets down. This is why people often notice that inflammation-related symptoms, bloating, joint pain, brain fog, skin issues begin to fade once they start fasting properly. As inflammation subsides, your body undergoes a deeper metabolic shift from sugar burning to fat burning. With insulin low and inflammation quieted, your cells finally regain the sensitivity to access stored fat as energy. The fat cells release fatty acids into the bloodstream, and your liver converts them into ketones, a clean burning fuel that produces fewer free radicals and less oxidative stress. In this state, you're not only burning fat, you're healing from the inside out. This natural reset has another powerful effect. It rebalances your immune system. In chronic inflammation, the immune system is like a security alarm that never turns off, always reacting, always overactive. Fasting helps recalibrate this system, shifting it from defense mode to maintenance mode. It enhances the production of anti-inflammatory molecules while suppressing excessive immune reactions that damage tissue. This quieting of inflammation is not temporary, it's a deep biological reprogramming that affects every system in your body. What's profound is that fasting doesn't require force. You're not fighting your biology, you're aligning with it. Our ancestors lived this way naturally, alternating between periods of eating and fasting. Their bodies thrived on this rhythm, not only for survival, but for renewal. Today, by intentionally reintroducing fasting into our modern lives, we're simply returning to a state our biology remembers well. When fasting becomes a daily or weekly practice, it trains your metabolism to become flexible again, able to switch between burning glucose and fat seamlessly. Inflammation stays low, insulin remains stable, and energy flows more freely. You begin to feel lighter, clearer, and more focused, not because you're consuming less, but because your body is finally free of the burden of internal clutter. When the fire of inflammation quiets, the body no longer needs to hold on to excess fat for protection. The gates open, energy moves, and healing begins. Fasting, in this sense, is not just a dietary choice, it's a biological act of trust, allowing your body to restore balance, clear the noise, and return to its natural rhythm of renewal and fat burning. The foods you eat are not just calories, they are information. Every bite sends a chemical message to your cells, instructing them either to calm inflammation or to feed it. Your plate, therefore, is like a match or a bucket of water. It can either fuel the metabolic fire that keeps you inflamed and storing fat, or it can extinguish that fire, allowing your body to heal, balance hormones, and burn fat efficiently. The difference between these two outcomes often comes down to simple daily food choices made consistently over time. When you fill your diet with anti-inflammatory foods, you're not merely eating healthy. You're literally reprogramming your metabolism at the genetic level. These foods influence how your genes express themselves, how your mitochondria create energy, and how sensitive your body remains to insulin. The most powerful of these are whole, unprocessed, nutrient-dense foods that carry natural anti-inflammatory compounds. Omega-3 rich fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel provide essential fatty acids that directly suppress inflammatory molecules in your body. They balance out omega-6 fats, which are found in excess in modern diets and are major contributors to inflammation. Olive oil, particularly extra virgin, is another cornerstone. Its polyphenols act like shields against oxidative stress, protecting your cells and supporting insulin sensitivity. When you cook or drizzle olive oil over your meals, You're essentially bathing your cells in one of nature's most potent anti-inflammatory medicines. Then there's turmeric, the golden spice that has been used for centuries in healing traditions. Its active compound, curcumin, switches off inflammatory genes at the source and enhances your body's natural antioxidant defenses. When paired with black pepper, its absorption increases dramatically, allowing it to circulate and do its quiet, powerful work. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, arugula, Swiss chard flood the body with magnesium, potassium, and phytonutrients that neutralize free radicals and support the detoxification pathways in your liver. These compounds help maintain insulin sensitivity and prevent fat from being stored around the organs. Berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries are small but mighty. Their vibrant colors come from anthocyanins, compounds that cool inflammation and improve blood vessel function. They also help regulate glucose by slowing down the absorption of sugar in the bloodstream, keeping insulin steady. Adding just a handful of berries a day can begin to reshape your internal chemistry. And then there are fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, living foods that nurture the gut microbiome. A healthy gut ecosystem produces anti-inflammatory molecules and communicates directly with your metabolism. When your gut bacteria thrive, your body becomes more efficient at burning fat, balancing blood sugar, and controlling appetite. These foods may seem simple, but their effects ripple through every system, from digestion to energy production to immune health. On the other side of the equation are the foods that keep the fire alive: refined carbohydrates, industrial seed oils, and processed meats. Refined carbs like white bread, pastries, and sugary snacks cause rapid spikes in blood sugar and insulin. Each spike triggers inflammation and oxidative stress, creating a metabolic storm that locks fat inside your cells. Industrial seed oils such as soybean, corn, and canola oil are particularly damaging. They are high in omega-6 fats that oxidize easily, producing inflammatory compounds that burden your liver and mitochondria. Processed meats loaded with nitrates and preservatives add another layer of inflammatory stress, damaging the delicate lining of your blood vessels and driving insulin resistance. Your body cannot heal if every meal keeps reigniting inflammation. You can think of each food choice as either pouring water or fuel on that fire. When you eat an anti-inflammatory meal rich in whole foods and healthy fats, you're pouring water on the flames, cooling the system, lowering insulin, and freeing fat stores to be used as energy. When you eat processed, refined, or fried foods, you're adding fuel to the blaze, and the body responds by defending itself, holding onto fat, raising insulin, and worsening inflammation. What's powerful is that you don't need to overhaul everything overnight. The body responds quickly to small, consistent shifts. Replacing one inflammatory meal a day with one that's healing begins to alter your internal chemistry within days. The more you stabilize your blood sugar and reduce oxidative stress, the more your cells begin to trust the environment again. Your mitochondria, the engines of your metabolism, start producing energy cleanly and efficiently. Fat oxidation improves. Cravings fade. Your body no longer feels trapped in survival mode. It begins to thrive, a drizzle of olive oil instead of vegetable oil, a handful of berries instead of a sugary dessert, a portion of grilled salmon instead of processed meat. These small decisions, repeated daily, become metabolic therapy. Food, in this sense, is not just sustenance, it's communication. It tells your body whether to inflame or to heal, to store or to burn. When you choose foods that calm inflammation, you send a signal of safety to your metabolism, and that's when true, lasting fat loss begins from within. When you understand that inflammation is the root cause of stubborn fat and metabolic dysfunction, everything about health and fat loss begins to make sense. Your body has never been against you. It has simply been trying to protect you. The symptoms you experience, from fatigue to belly fat to cravings, are signals from a system overwhelmed by internal stress. The solution isn't punishment or deprivation, it's restoration. It's about bringing the body back into its natural rhythm, one where energy flows freely, fat is used efficiently, and inflammation remains low. The foundation of this transformation is rhythm: when to eat, what to eat, and how to live in sync with your biology. Begin with controlled eating windows. Instead of grazing all day, confine your meals within an 8 to 10-hour window, giving your body 14 to 16 hours of fasting overnight. This simple shift allows insulin levels to drop, inflammation to cool, and autophagy, your internal cleanup system, to activate. It's not about eating less, it's about allowing your body to alternate between nourishment and renewal, a rhythm nature always intended. Within that eating window, fill your plate with anti-inflammatory foods, real, whole, unprocessed. Build meals around colorful vegetables, omega-3, rich fish, extra virgin olive oil, avocados, nuts, and fermented foods. Let protein come from clean sources, rich in amino acids that support muscle and mitochondrial function. Use herbs and spices like turmeric, ginger, garlic, and cinnamon, not just for flavor, but for their ability to suppress inflammatory genes and stabilize blood sugar. These ingredients act as your daily medicine, quietly healing the gut, supporting the liver, and guiding fat metabolism back on track. Hydration plays a subtle but crucial role. Water isn't just for thirst, it's the vehicle through which your body eliminates inflammatory waste. Begin your morning with a tall glass of mineral-rich water, maybe with a pinch of salt or a squeeze of lemon, to support electrolyte balance and cellular function. Throughout the day, stay hydrated, not with sugary beverages or energy drinks, but with pure water, herbal teas, or green tea, which itself contains antioxidants that calm inflammation. Hydration keeps your metabolism fluid, your digestion smooth, and your detox pathways clear. Then there's the often forgotten pillar, stress. Chronic stress is one of the biggest triggers of inflammation. When cortisol remains high, insulin rises alongside it, locking fat inside your cells and increasing visceral fat storage. To heal, you must create moments of stillness each day, not hours of meditation, but small pauses to breathe, reflect, and reconnect. Deep breathing, walking outdoors, gratitude journaling, or simply eating without distraction sends a powerful message to your nervous system: you are safe. When the body feels safe, inflammation subsides, digestion improves, and fat burning becomes natural again. Even sleep, that silent healer, determines whether your body is inflamed or balanced. A single night of poor sleep can raise inflammatory markers and blunt insulin sensitivity. Create a nightly rhythm, dim the lights, disconnect from screens, and allow your body to unwind. Quality sleep is when your brain detoxifies and your hormones reset. It's during these hours that fat burning, healing, and regeneration truly accelerate. When you combine all these principles, fasting windows, anti-inflammatory meals, proper hydration, quality sleep, and stress control, you create a metabolic environment where your body feels safe to let go. Fat begins to release naturally, not because you're forcing it, but because you've removed the obstacles that were blocking it. Your mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses of every cell, become stronger, producing clean energy with less oxidative stress. Your skin clears, your mood stabilizes, your energy becomes steady. What began as a goal to lose fat evolves into something deeper: longevity, clarity, and vitality. You begin to realize that inflammation was never your enemy. It was a messenger, a signal that something inside was out of balance. When you respond to that signal with awareness instead of frustration, you begin to work with your body, not against it. Healing then becomes effortless. Imagine your body as an ocean caught in a storm. Waves crashing, winds howling, the surface chaotic. That's inflammation. But the moment you calm that storm, through food, fasting, rest, and awareness, the waters settle. The sun reflects clearly once again. In that calm, your metabolism finds its rhythm, and fat loss happens not as a struggle, but as a natural expression of balance restored. Your body was designed to heal, to burn fat and to thrive. All it needs is for you to step out of its way, to remove the noise, the fire, the clutter. When you create the right environment, your biology remembers what to do. The process is simple, the wisdom, ancient calm, the storm inside, and everything else begins to flow in harmony again.